All right, folks. Just a solo podcast here. Hope you're all enjoying the World Cup. So, not used to doing these by myself, so I'll get through this. Obviously, trying to collect my thoughts at the moment on this breaking news that a headline United fans have been waiting for 17 years. Before I get into it, I'm just going to tweet this out, so just give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Didn't have time to get the makeup done. Sorry about that. This is obviously a day United fans have been waiting for 17 years. I'm quite emotional right now. United means different things to different people. Some people won't be that fussed. People like myself, all the United fans, where United make up a large part of their life, are ecstatic today. For 17 years, we've had the guilt of not being able to buy a Manchester United shirt because you don't want to support these people. People boycotting games. Not being able to buy your kids shirts. Simple things. Sometimes it's not always the big things, it's the little things, without feeling guilty. Without feeling like you're supporting these kleptocratic bastards. 17 years. They've stanked this place out. They took what wasn't theirs and never getting it back. And we'll talk about new ownership in a minute. We'll talk about what United fans need to do now. Because they were fooled once, we were fooled once, we'll not be fooled twice. Whoever buys this football club going forward is going to have to make sure United fans are a part of the decision making process inside the football club, or else they'll face similar. Any new potential owners should look at what the people like the 1958 and other fan groups have done, and every other supporter, to know that it's not possible to own Manchester United without the fans being front and centre. It's not possible to own Manchester United for any other reason than what's best for the football club. You pick a fight with Mancunians, you don't see their backs, you see their faces. I believe I was talking to someone, as you know, I've been talking about this on my podcast for a long time. And I was getting consistent information that I trusted. And for me to go public on something like United being up for sale, I have to be absolutely certain. And you always have to countenance with the desire for it. You want it to be true. You're fooling yourself because you want to believe it. I mean, I've been told things like this before and wanted to believe it was true. But the consistency of the information I was getting from the summer and the sources, and the fact that these sources demanded anonymity, made me question, well, why would they lie? What's their incentive? And they would have been going to the most elaborate hoax and great work on their own part to pull this off for reasons I wouldn't understand. So I trusted the veracity of the information. But up until about 2 weeks ago, even about 2 weeks ago, I was starting to question it because I felt like nothing was happening. But I think partly what has prompted this, so obviously with Liverpool being up for sale, I think the Glazers wanted them to go first for two reasons. One, I think they wanted to drag potential buyers out of the woodwork and then make sure that those potential buyers, they don't lose out on those potential buyers, that they get an idea of who has the capital to buy a football club that size, what type of parties are interested, and then United would follow suit shortly after and put the football club up for sale, to make sure those potential owners don't lose out on those potential buyers. Um, they've been trying to raise investment for years, and they've been diluting their ownership with Class B shares for years. So what they will understand now is that there's no appetite for partial ownership, and they've been doing things differently for months. Look, I said this on the podcast when they bought Casemiro. United have had a very strict policy over the years of not buying 30-year-olds and above. I mean, they had a policy where they wouldn't give contracts to 30-year-olds more than a year. I know they compromised that for the Nemanja Matic. But when they bought Casemiro, which was a complete departure from how the Glazers do business and the principles with how they run their business, they obviously felt confident they were going to get a return on that investment, maybe not through selling the player, but through selling the football club. They have had a concerted effort since the summer to silence Glazer out protests, whether that's through not amplifying accounts and supporting accounts like mine and others. You'll notice I haven't had a United player on in a while. And so they were clearly making sure, obviously with banning flags and stupidly asking Sky to edit the stuff out, edit Glazer out chants, which only fetishizes it even more. Once you start banning it, you show a weakness. And United fans rightfully attacked them on that weakness. And they are on the ropes. And United fans endure it. There's so many people that deserve so much credit. And I appreciate all the love that people have shown me. This isn't about me. I mean, to be fair, there was a number of people that had this information, and they were doing the same as I did. They were working for organisations where maybe you had to have it double, triple sourced before you go public with something like that. I don't have that problem, so I don't want to take all the credit for it. There is a certain sense of satisfaction, however, to certain people who were extremely condescending regarding the fact that when I put this out, who quickly followed it up with "it's nonsense, this club isn't for sale." In fact, Tariq Panja from the New York Times was extremely condescending, saying that this was all the result of an Elon Musk tweet. So I wonder how he feels right now. And to the arseholes that repeatedly put on Twitter, protests don't work, what have you got to say now, my friend? You will enjoy the dividends of everyone else's work. You will get to enjoy a football club, hopefully, that's owned by responsible people that embody the values of this football club. Make sure you thank someone from the 1958 or the other fans that kept up this pressure, despite personal cost to themselves. It would have been easy to play ball with United, say all the right things, and have a quid pro quo and get content and get everything else. But sometimes values have to be defended no matter what the cost is to you personally. And there's people that have done that. And for those people, today is a very special day, because this is what we were working towards. And there's obviously United fans going forward are going to have to make sure they're a part of any purchase. That whoever buys this football club has to know that it can never be run like this again, that this will not be acceptable, that any potential new owner has to represent the views, has to reflect the values of Manchester United fans. And United fans have to be a part of any potential takeover. Liverpool fans have rightfully done the same thing, that they need to be a voice. They need to have a voice at the table. And I would hope that whoever buys United learns from the mistakes that the Glazers made. I believe that after Munich, it was the worst thing that ever happened to the football club. They've prostituted our history all over the football club, all over the world, to anyone who will write a check. They have tried to profit off the most despicable things. Everything was for sale. And you know, this is also an example to other clubs that if you keep up the pressure, don't give up, you can be successful. Because so many times United fans were told that this is pointless. A lot of people in the media disgracefully mischaracterise these protests as anti-American, as unbelievably anti-Semitic, which is astonishing to me. They labelled them as nothing more than spoiled fans because things weren't going well, which of course is just ridiculous. And those people will today want you to forget that they did that. They will be sitting there praising the fact that you're never going to be sold and want you to forget the fact that for years they disparaged you. I don't forget it. See, so much of this could have been avoided had they have done their jobs in the very beginning. Had they have not deliberately mischaracterized these protests, and a lot of those people today are still proselytizing to United fans. And of course now they're all on board because it's expedient to be so, about the Glazers and the toxic ownership. But most United fans have been saying this since 2005. Everything that's happening today was entirely predictable. We've waited 17 years to wake up to a headline that says Manchester United are in the process of being sold. This is a very emotional day for me personally, and I'm sure it is for a lot of United fans. I think the Ronaldo thing was also a factor. I said in my podcast over the summer that I was told that TeamViewer were looking at their contracts to see if they could get out of it, to see if United had violated the terms of their contract. Ronaldo will have been an important aspect of those commercial deals. The Adidas deal is up in a year and a half. That'll be negotiated right now. With no Ronaldo, and United nowhere near the position they were 10 years ago when they negotiated, there's no way that would even be renewed on the same terms. So the future projections financially are really poor. And with these commercial contracts, no doubt having Ronaldo written into them, now no longer a part of the football club, and even if he was, you wouldn't be able to use him to market the football club anyway. His association with United is no longer positive. That will have been another factor, I'm sure, where they've sat there and thought this is just the financial extrapolations. You know, if you look at it, you know, it's not positive. Top four is not certain. I felt that when they made the decision over the summer to go from Rabiot and Arnautovic to, like, say, Casemiro and Antony, there was a confidence that the club would be sold and they'd get that money back. You know, when United were sitting bottom of the table, that would affect share price. With 2 weeks to go in the window, it was important, or sale price, it was important that United strengthened. When you're in the process of being sold, if you're hurting, people will let you bleed because it's inevitably going to bring the price down. And when you look at what United spent over the summer, it's around an hour for billionaires. So I've used this analogy before. It's the equivalent of fattening the cow before slaughter. You know, the farmer isn't your friend if he's fattening the cow. He's doing it for his own benefit. And that's what I felt the Glazers were doing. So we're not down to victory dance yet, as I've said, but this is the best day we've had since this despicable ownership takeover took place. There's a couple of encouraging things. When Todd Bowley bought Chelsea, there was regulation put in that says you cannot buy the football club and take money out, a la Glazer clause. So whoever buys United, I'm sure will be subject to the same. We obviously hope it's not going to go to some despots. You know, I've been quite vocal about the human rights issues in Qatar, and I've always said that, you know, my entertainment's not more important than someone's life. So I really hope that whoever does buy this football club and shows interest in it, wants to buy it, wants to do it for all the right reasons. And, I sit here and I get carried away about the thought of what will United look like with a properly supported manager. A football club that looks like a football club. You know, it's hard. I'm sure United fans will understand this. Other football fans will understand this. It's not that United have to win every week. They don't expect that. Manchester United are an important part of my life. Not just my mental health, but an important way for me to connect with my kid. I love the fact that we share our love for Manchester United, that we talk about United, that we get up and watch the games, that we go to Old Trafford together, that this is something that him and I connect over. And it's precious to me, and I'm sure it's precious to you. So to get that back, to be able to pass it on without guilt, is something that I feel a tremendous sense of relief. I think about the United fans that are not with us. I think about Mac. Mac and Knife that passed away last year with cancer. March, sorry. I think about all the United fans, my friends, that wanted this day so bad, that won't get to see it. And I'm glad that we do. This is an amazing day for the football club. Completely overshadows the Ronaldo news, of course. And I think that, like I said at the start of this podcast, I really think the Liverpool bid had a huge impact on the Glazers. I think the Liverpool, flushed out potential buyers. The Glazers looked at, said, okay, we don't want to lose out here. We don't want these people to buy Liverpool when they could buy Manchester United. We see what type of people are interested in Liverpool. We need to do this now. So Manchester United are the golden tickets. There's only a couple of franchises, let me use that term, in world football or in world sport that are, the Dallas Cowboys are one of them. Manchester United, the Dodgers, Yankees. Those are cultural icons. Those are things that transcend their sport. Those are things that you go around London and you'll see New York Yankees hats everywhere. I doubt they're all Yankees fans. This is a fashion statement. Manchester United are so important. This is a day, as I say, I've waited for so long, and I want to thank the likes of the 1958 and other fan groups and people that have kept up the pressure, because this wouldn't be happening. Make no mistake about it. This would not be happening without them. And it's not about any one particular individual or egos being stroked. This is about what's best for this football club. This is about giving something back that never should have been taken. It was entirely appropriate that Cristiano Ronaldo had his contract terminated. Once you come out after your manager, you really can't expect to stay. But when you look at Ronaldo's behaviour, being completely self-serving, using the club for his own means, being paid an exorbitant amount of money, well, who did he learn that from? How can the Glazers complain about that? They set the tone. They are no different than Cristiano Ronaldo in some sense, but at least Ronaldo gave us something back. These bastards couldn't do an interview. They couldn't sit down with United. They sat down with United fans after the Super League and lied to them and told them they'd implement this, that and the other, and none of it's happened. So, this is the result, no question, of fan protests, of the fact that the Glazers, who have been trying to raise investment for years, by the way, so that they could stay on. This is about fans making sure any potential owner or commercial partner knows that as long as you invest in this football club with these people here, you will never have our support. Yes, we'll show up to games. Yes, we'll cheer the team. But you will never have our support. There's a difference between, and this is something City and Newcastle fans need to understand, there's a massive difference between criticising your owners and criticising your football club. Your owners are not your football club. They're temporary custodians of that football club. And I can separate the two. So for me, I think going forward, it's really, really important that fans don't let up now, because now it's a different fight. Now it's not just about getting the Glazers, it's about making sure United fans are included, and they have a voice that has weight going forward. Whoever buys the football club, I'd like to see them clean it out. I'd like to see Richard Arnold gone. I'd like to see the financial people that run this football club that have been Glazer shells gone too. I don't want to see them profit. I don't want to see them benefit. I would like to see those people gone with the Glazers. Because here's what's going to happen, make no mistake about it. See, if they're going to stay on, they're going to pretend like the Glazers didn't happen. They're going to pretend like this is the best thing and this is something that they've always wanted. They'll want you to forget the lies they told. They'll want you to forget all their shady moves, all the things that they've done, that they confiscated flags. They want you to forget that they were the face of owners who were taking dividends out of the football club that were completely indefensible. They go with them. Let them go. I'll take some comments here. Let me see. No comment. I'll have to do it myself today. Yeah, thank you, folks, for all the love on Twitter and all that there. Like I said, I'm just a United fan like you, and I've been doing this now for, 12 years. And in the 12 years I've been doing this, I've been lucky enough to develop relationships with people that I trust, that are in key positions, that I trust their information. I'm not always right, but I don't go public with anything that I'm not really confident in. And yes, I took some grief over it because people were saying you're bullshit and all that there, but that's part of the game. So I want to thank those people in the background that have been good to me by giving me this information. And this is a great day for the football club. It's a great day for United fans, and I hope it gets done quick, because I'd love to see Ten Hag back properly in January. I would hope that any potential buyer, if it's not done by January, would say to the Glazers, make sure you, if you look at Mike Ashley when he was selling the club to the Saudis, he was spending knowing that he was getting that money back. So I sincerely hope that United allow Ten Hag in January to go after a top-class striker now, knowing that they're going to get the money back. I'd spoken to people, mentioned Sesko a couple of weeks ago, and I'd asked people at the club about this, and what I'd been told was, if a striker comes in January, Sesko or anyone else, it'll be out of the summer's budget. So it'll have to be brought forward. I sincerely hope that's not the case now. I sincerely hope, and this isn't just about band players, right? Of course, this is about much more than that. I'd love to see Football Club put back in the badge. I want to see an Old Trafford that's state of the art. To me, there's so many dividends to getting rid of the Glazers, and we're probably not going to get a perfect owner, folks. We'll probably get someone that is not perfect. I understand that. I'm not perfect, but I understand that. I don't want to see it owned by someone that has an extremely checkered human rights background or anything like that. I'd like to see it owned by responsible people, ideally Jim Ratcliffe. And here's the thing about United. United don't need to be owned by a benefactor. They don't need to be owned by a billionaire. Once you clear the debt and the commitments to paying off that debt, you need to generate plenty of money to be able to spend a couple of $100 million every year. United can compete with City if you take away all their debt commitments. But here's the reality of things. If you're United or Liverpool, neither FSG or the Glazers are in the same stratosphere as the people that own City or Newcastle. You can say with reasonable confidence that an FSG are facing the same issue. That in 5 years we're talking about a league being dominated by City and Newcastle. So the question United have to ask themselves, and Liverpool have to ask themselves, is, can we be commercially successful? Not winning the title, not winning major trophies? And the answer to that is no. Because United have already shown, without Without proper investment, you cannot compete. And see, City can afford to get it wrong. And there's so many things you don't see. I mean, City 60 million for Holland, but not really. When you look at his wages, you look at everything else. No one in world football or in the Premier League, what was it? When I looked at his wages, almost nobody else could be able to do that. So, this is something where both Liverpool and United have had to concede that they don't have the resources anymore to compete with the City or even a Newcastle. And the future projections under that type of ownership model are really poor. I mean, this would have happened sooner, in my opinion, had the Glazers not had Ferguson. You know, because Ferguson allowed them to be successful when Abramovich had bought Chelsea and was pushing up the prices of everything, and Ferguson's genius allowed them to be successful. Once he left, and he, as we know, is a big part of the reason why the Glazers are there. You can't deny that. But once he left, you know, the success went with him. But so did the manager's power, and they usurped it, and they put it upstairs to idiots who did not know what they're doing. You know, when Ronaldo was coming to Manchester United, Ed Woodward sat down with Joe Glazer, said, I can make the numbers work. It's all commercial. You know, what numbers was he showing? Wasn't showing him his goals. Wasn't showing him, you know, any football stats. He was showing him financial stats. That was always the motivating factor for these, you know, for Ronaldo to Manchester United, was we can make a commercial killing here. So when you look at the Adidas deal, you look at things like TeamViewer bailing on them. United were once respected throughout world football for their business acumen. Right? They were once the example in world football. But now the house of cards is coming down. This was always how it was going to end. Once the scales tipped between the benefits of owning it and the benefits of selling it, the benefits of selling it outweighed the benefits of owning it, it was always going to be sold. So this is so encouraging, and I hope it gets done quickly. It probably will take a few months, is my guess. It takes a while to go through. I'm sure there'll be, you know, if you take a look at how long it took Chelsea to be sold, there'll be a lot of interest in United. I know people have talked about 9 billion and all that. They're not getting 9 billion for that football club, but someone will overpay for it. There's no doubt. 5 billion is overpaying for it. What I'd heard was 3.75 billion plus the debt to be cleared. That was back in the summer. So basically 4.5 billion. United financially, commercially, you know, we're not worth that. But if they're properly funded and they're competitive and they're back winning trophies, United will be a commercial juggernaut. The Premier League needs this. You know, and I'm sure there's going to be other fans that'll talk about this, say that's arrogance, but the Premier League is a commercial model. Need a successful Manchester United. They need a successful Liverpool. They need those old rivalries, you know, revitalised. That's what the Premier League sold on. I don't think, no disrespect to City or Newcastle, the Premier League want a future where City and Newcastle are dominating. It takes forever to build something the size of Manchester United and to have that type of appeal. So, as a commercial entity, the Premier League will be desperate for Manchester United to be owned by people that will properly invest in it, same as Liverpool. So, I think it's going to be interesting because both those clubs define each other in many ways. And, you know, whoever buys Liverpool or vice versa will motivate whoever buys United, in my opinion. So, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens next. Very, very happy, very excited. I'll take some comments. If anyone, I'm just looking at these. Hello, pal, 46 years hearing this news and bubbled up. Honestly, when I first, obviously, like I said, I've been getting this information, but I needed someone else to run with it. I needed someone else to have confidence because obviously other people are sourcing this. And I'd spoken to people at Bloomberg and everything, and they had confirmed a lot of it too, but they weren't okay with running it. Because they're working in the financial sector and there's people, I'm sure, that I've asked them not to. I have a different responsibility. So when you see the major broadcast of the Premier League going with it, and they're not putting that out there unless they're certain. I don't know if this is correct, but I believe they have they have a small percentage of ownership of Manchester United. I think they have a small percentage of number of clubs, but that may not still be true, but I know it was a few years ago. So they will obviously be aware of what's going on. For United fans, this is a truly amazing day, and I'd be interested to hear what people are hoping for going forward. This is a bad day for the rest of the Premier League, because a properly funded Manchester United and a properly run Manchester United is. I'm not saying we'll see a return to the Ferguson days, but those that gloat on United's demise, and let's be honest, I mean, you draw a straight line between United's demise and the owners. I mean, there's no question that's the reason why they're in the situation they're in. I was jealous when Liverpool were put up for sale. I'm not going to lie. I wanted that to be us. And I worried that, and I'm sure the Glazers are thinking the same thing, what happens if some oil state comes in and owns Liverpool? As I said, Liverpool and United define each other. A financially dominant Liverpool would only heighten protests. I mean, one of the things that's been hard for United fans to take is watching Liverpool win European Cups and win leagues. There's no question that increases the pressure on the Glazers. So if Liverpool were bought by some wealthy oil state or wealthy individual where they were funded in the same level of City, there's no way the Glazers could continue to own Manchester United. First of all, their commercial value would continue to drop. The protest would increase. As you saw 2 weeks ago with the ECA meeting with basically the founders of the Super League, that's not happening anytime soon. So, you look at over the next couple of years, there's no the prospects are terrible. And if you go back to when the Glazers first made a presentation to JP Morgan to get the financing to buy United, in that prospectus they list the risks of buying Manchester United, and most of them seemed ridiculous at the time, such as we may not qualify for the Champions League. I mean, if you'd have said to me in 2005-4 United won't qualify for the Champions League, I just thought you were insane. It was such, we took it such for granted, I was pissed off when United finished second. So, and wanted them to go out and buy players because that was unacceptable, and you needed to strengthen. How could you finish second? Unbelievably spoiled. But if you look at the risks, may not qualify for the Champions League, may lose Ferguson, may not be able to keep our best players because we don't have the resources anymore of being in the Champions League, may lose commercial partners. Revenue would be down due to no prize money from trophies, due to no prize money from not winning the Premier League. May not be able to keep a hold of our best players anymore. All these potential risks have been realised. They would need to do that again if they want to borrow money. The cost of money goes up, the risk factors have significantly increased, so the future projections will be really, really poor. I have no doubt they've been advised by people in the financial markets to sell the football club. So this is, even if you weren't getting information, it's just a reasonable extrapolation to say that, it makes no more sense to keep it. I know for a fact, their daughters, were getting grief online. There was people within the family that wanted Joel Glazer to sell. The biggest reason why the club wasn't up for sale in the past was Joel Glazer. He was, I'm going to say something here. Most people who've met Joel Glazer will tell you he's a nice guy and all that. I don't believe that. This is a family that was sued. Admittedly, it was mostly their father by trailer park owners, the lowest income bracket in the country. for illegally hiking rents for having children and having pets, which is just despicable. They were sued by Harley Davidson for pump and dump stock, for illegally inflating the prices of the stock. They were sued by their own family because they wanted to keep a hold of an inheritance and made sure their sisters didn't get any. These are not benevolent people, and these are people who didn't own Manchester United because they wanted them to be successful on the pitch. I mean, sure, that's great for their ego, but these are people that judge United's success and failure by what happens off the pitch. And so you're looking at the future. To me, this was always going to happen in the next year or two. So, because, I mean, what Richard Arnold said over the summer, you know, to me was the biggest revealing of his hand that United are in serious trouble. With this Ronaldo interview, I believe they would have done it anyway. Had Ronaldo not have done this interview and had they not have sacked him, I think, like I said, this has been going on for months. I don't think that was the reason why they did it. But that would be devastating for their potential to attract commercial partners in the future, because no doubt they will be selling Ronaldo. I mean, that's why they're paying him the exorbitant amounts of money and tolerating him, because of his commercial value. Once he has no more commercial value, then, you know, how on earth do you attract sponsors? Sponsor what? You know, you've got your equity is your fans, and they hate you. You know, and the problem is, in 2005, when you were sponsoring United, you could lie. But now with social media and all these sponsors being so easily accessible, you know, they're getting bombarded. And they're going, what are we paying for here, lads? You know, so they're all ways to these gimmicks now. And so United can no longer send a player to appease fans and buy time. Because there's a difference between pleasure and happiness. Every drug addict knows this. So the sugar high at the signing wears off. You lose the next 2 games, and you're right back where you started. The only way to properly appease fans is to be successful on the pitch. What will be obvious to United now is the only way to be a commercial success is to be successful on the pitch. Can they really be successful with City and Newcastle being funded the way they are? I don't think so. You know, I don't think United have the resources anymore to go out and buy at the top of the market. So, and in fact, I believe, had they not have been confident of selling the football club, Erik ten Hag would have a very different squad than what he has right now. I'm just hearing there's a United statement coming out. Board of Directors announces a process designed to enhance the club's future growth. So let me see what that actually says here. We'll read this one here. United extra strategic explore. Manchester United, one of the most. Including new investment in the club sale. Yeah. So it's been confirmed by the football club, of course. Very, very encouraging. Very, very exciting. And I'm going to have a few tonight. So if you've got any questions, folks, go ahead and plug in your comments there, and I will get to as many as you can. And what is your understanding in regards to the state of the current buyer market based when you last contact? Listen, there's a ton of interest in United, right? I was told that there had been a bid made over the summer that was commensurate with the Glazers' valuation. The valuation will change based on who's interested. So, and I believe that came from the same source that's been informing me over and over and over again on this. So I've got messages I haven't read yet from some of these people. So I'll update it as I get it. So there's tons of interest in Manchester United. The club will not struggle to get a buyer. That's definitely not an issue. What it will do, if you're Liverpool, is this will not be good for them, because with Liverpool and United being on the market, any potential buyer will go for United first. You know, you need to be a multi-billionaire to buy Liverpool. So Liverpool will get the owners that couldn't buy Manchester United, in my opinion. To do partnership with third parties is worrying them. Yeah, but not really, because here's the thing. What is obvious, same with Liverpool, is if there's someone out there that says, listen, I'll give you a bunch of money, and to get a return on that over 20 years, the Glazers will take it. Of course they would. But this is standard wording. They're basically saying we're open to anything. Liverpool did the same thing. So with the acknowledgement that they're open to a full sale, if think about this from a Glazers perspective. So let's say they want to sell a partial part of the football club, get partial investment. Partial investment for what? They would have to dilute their ownership of Manchester United to reinvest that money back into the football club. So they raised 700 million by selling off parts of the football club. Why would they dilute their ownership to reinvest back in the football club when they could sell it completely and walk away with 100% of the profit? To me, it doesn't make business sense, and it wouldn't make business sense for any potential buyer. If you look at United commercially, the Glazers are the problem, and I think that when they're talking about partial investment, one of the things they've been trying to do with silencing the Glazer out stuff is trying to position the football club to potential investors and say, we're not toxic to the brand. You can give us money so we can stick around. But they've been completely unsuccessful with doing that. You can't do that anymore, not with the internet and everything else. It's utterly impossible. This is why I don't really understand. 99.9% of United fans don't go to games. It's still a small percentage. So yes, the imagery of all that online and on TV is not great for Glazers. Really, like I said, what's different from 2005 is that most of these sponsors now are so accessible online that you really can't put a lid on it. And when you ban flags, you fetishize them even more. When you edit this stuff out, it's a gift to it's a gift to United fans. It's showing you where your stress points are. All right, so like my hot photo here. Where? DM me. So I move swiftly. Moving on. We will be lucky to get an owner we desire. The amount of Glazers will seek put United in a very small window. Yes, that's true. Obviously, United are worth a lot of money, but honestly, the 5 billion or whatever it will take to buy United, there's lots of people out there with that type of capital to buy Manchester United comfortably. What type of person? Well, we're not getting Mother Teresa. We'll have to be honest about that. But what's important is two things. One, there's governance to make sure that we never have a repeat of this, and so the Premier League and the football governance have to show their teeth. So does the government, to make sure there's a Glazer clause put into any potential buy purchase, just like Todd Bowley had to comply with. I'm sure they'll do the same in Liverpool. So I'm more optimistic that whoever buys United, the Glazer takeover was a propaganda for a lot of United fans and of course for football governance. And now they know we're not going to make this mistake again. The Premier League, United's a prized commercial asset for its TV rates, for its advertising rates, for everything else. They will be desperate to avoid a repeat of this process, in my opinion. So I'm more confident that it'll be handled properly this time around. What do we got here? Yes, cheer up. I am in the best mood, mate. Trust me. I've got a bunch of white hankies here. More white hankies and a Real Madrid fan. And I'm telling you, they're all going to get used. Never doubted my integrity. Thank you very much, because that is something that matters to me, my integrity. You can call me a dickhead. You can call me whatever you want. But when people question my integrity, first of all, I don't define my life or its importance by my responses on Twitter. But I'm a human being, and I don't like it whenever people accuse me of making stuff up. I like to believe that those who follow me long enough know that I don't make stuff up, that everything is sourced properly. So who could buy it? We've covered that. So thanks, Robbie. Chase, thank you, mate. I see you on Twitter. I hope I'm saying your name right. Just being able to buy, and again, this is one of the small dividends. Christmas is coming up. I want to buy my kids United shirts, but it's always been parsed with, how do I square this circle whenever I'm funding these bastards? It's just, I want to have that back so that I don't feel guilty. If I can take my kids to Old Trafford, I don't feel guilty. I want to be able to have a guilty-free experience of watching the football club that I've loved since I was a child. So this is something that why I really hope that United get responsible, respectful owners. Thank you for all the updates. Thank you, mate. Thank you for all of you for all your follows, likes, retweets, and everything else. I'm extremely grateful for everyone and for all the love I've got today. It's very, very much appreciated. I can't explain to everyone. Thank you on that again, mate. Much appreciated. Is it possible to be done by end of the season? Yeah, I would think it would be done by end of the season. I can't imagine United will want that to drag on. Ten Hag won't want that to drag on. The people inside the football club won't want that to drag on. I'm sure there's letters of intent being given right now. I mean, this didn't just happen today. This has been going on for a while behind the scenes. So I would imagine that it'll get done. It'll probably take a few months, but I would think that I think that even if it takes 3, 4, 5 months, the football club will be run today based on how it will be run when it's sold. So Ten Hag will probably get much more money in January than what he would have got otherwise. The banks will have no problems lending United money if they need to borrow it. Glazers will be confident they'll get it back in a sale anyway. So I think I think that will happen. Let me see. I think it will happen in a few months. I hope it isn't. I do too. I do too. I really do. I hope it's any info on potential buyers. You know, as I said, I'd heard over the summer that there was already a bid made, and it's from the type of people you would expect, petrostates. No, let me clarify that. People from petrostates, because I think there's an important distinction here, and it's even related to Qatar. If you're prejudiced, if someone from Saudi Arabia bought Manchester United, that in itself is not an issue. You know, if you can't be prejudiced against all Saudis, but if the source of the money is the problem, where that's coming from and how they acquired it, that is the most important thing. So it was someone from a petrostate. I don't know if they're connected to the ruling class in those countries. I didn't get that far, but it's a reflection of how much interest there is. Any info? Sorry, I just read that one. Yep. United can be self-sufficient 100%. Anyway, so what I was told, this is an interesting, good point is, Jim Ratcliffe's had a bit of a strange strategy, and I've never really believed that he is a serious contender. I was talking to an individual that knows Jim quite well, and he works in the financial sector, and what he said to me back in the summer was Jim Ratcliffe's not serious, and Jim Ratcliffe doesn't have the money to bet, and he put a bid into Chelsea late, knowing it wouldn't be accepted for publicity. I don't know if that's true or not. I would love to see someone like Jim own Manchester United. Like you said earlier, they don't need someone with another 4 or 5 billion, you know, to spend, because United generate plenty of money. When the debt's cleared. I mean, if United were in debt for 700 million because they built a stadium, that would be reasonable to me. I'd understand that. So I think, I think this will end up being, Jim Ratcliffe will end up being priced out of this, in my opinion. Great day for all of us. Thank you, mate. Absolutely. Internet great work on this. Could there be an independent regulator intervening the sale? Yes, absolutely. For example, the Glazer dividend being imposed. Yes, we just talked about that, and in fact the FA had asked the government to appoint an independent regulator because the business of the Premier League was out of control. There's people who have done investigations into Premier League clubs recently, Fulham being one of them, that shows they're littered with fake sponsors. So I think there'll be tight governance over this, and I think the Premier League will be desperate to avoid a repeat, because they've taken a bit of a battering too over not preventing this type of ownership. Mike Ashley type of ownership was bad for Newcastle, bad for the Premier League. Newcastle's a big football club. They want them in the Premier League. They want them thriving. It helps market the sport. So I think there'll be tight governance over this, and be a Todd Bowley Glazer type clause put into any potential buyer. But anyway, anyone who buys Manchester United will know they can't run the football club like the Glazers did. Because, the United fans will fight you and fight you and fight you. So, what else we got? We've been in Stock for 17 years. Yeah, the ownership has just been unacceptable. Yeah, the news just broke. I saw it, mate, which is really, really, really exciting. Yeah, so, yeah. So, can you see the deal being done pre-kickoff? I think it'd be done before the end of next season, to be honest. So, very, very encouraging, folks. It's a great day for us United fans. It's a day we've all waited for so long. I'll obviously be doing a lot more on this as I get more information as it comes my way. My phone is absolutely blowing up right now. I've loads of messages from people that have been informing me on this. It's something we've all waited for. I'm extremely emotional. I want to thank everyone for all the love and support you've given me, for all kind comments on Twitter. I can't respond to them all, folks. I'm really sorry, but trust me, it means a lot. And thank you so much. There's obviously other people that are better informed than me that have done an exceptional job on this. So thank you so much for all the kind words, kind comments. We'll be back with another podcast. If you're in America, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know I will. And folks, this is the beginning of the end. This is the day we all waited for. These people have been a stain on our football club for 17 years, and we won. It's a great day. Much love to all of you, and we're getting our football club back.